You're listening to Trailblazers.fm, an interview-styled podcast that delves deep into bold conversations with successful Black entrepreneurs and leaders. Join us weekly to learn actionable strategies, valuable tactics, and innovative tools that you can put to use immediately on your journey to blazing your trail. And now, here's your host, my husband, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and happy Friday, Blazer Nation. Good morning to you. My name is Stephen A. Hart. I'm the host of the Trailblazers.fm platform, podcast, live streams. I'm noticing I'm still having some camera issues, so let's just do a quick swap over. Not the best of camera comparisons, but the goal is to make sure you guys can see me without those gaps. One more time from the top, happy Friday. My name is Stephen A. Hart. I am the host of Trailblazers.fm. You can learn more about everything I do over at StephenAHart.com. Trailblazers is a platform that I launched back in February of 2016. And the hope was to be able to showcase stories of amazing Black professionals, entrepreneurs, leaders, creatives, in hopes that their story would impart the knowledge, the resources, the tools that you need in order to blaze your own trail. So at the time of this recording, we are celebrating Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And today is Share the Mic in Cyber Day. I'm partnered with our friends Camille, Lauren, and Caitlin over at Share the Mic in Cyber. I actually did an interview with them at the beginning of this month, and I'm going to make sure I share the link up in the chat on our respective social channels. But wanted to just share this short clip from our interview with you on what is Share the Mic in Cyber. Check this out. What is Share the Mic in Cyber?
Share the Mic in Cyber at its core is an online movement that is dedicated to combating, dismantling systemic racism in cybersecurity, privacy, tech, etc. On the day of the actual event, we have allies, whether, in the beginning, it was prominent allies from cybersecurity. We were able to leverage our networks and get people, really prominent in the industry to help out. And they share their platform with Black cyber professionals in the space. So whether that's Twitter or LinkedIn, and then the professionals, the practitioners will share their stories, share their work, so that we can highlight their voices on those platforms and really show people, these professionals are experts in their field. They are here, they're doing the work, because we really think that shining a light on the middle not only begets real benefits for the pipeline, but also, creates hopefully pathways for leadership as well. And then, of course, leading up to the actual event, we have a number of events happening and other just promotion and amplification.
It started out as this one day thing that we wanted to spark action amongst people. And it has grown to include month-long programming anytime we have it, a scholarship fund, Cyberbase, which is a database of Black cyber talent that's launching in partnership with R Street Institute. We'll launch a fellowship in the future, and it just keeps growing. And so Share the Mic in Cyber, probably at its inception, we would have said it was a social media campaign to raise awareness and promote action, but it truly is a movement because it is so much bigger.
So that's a snippet from that conversation. Again, I'm gonna make sure I drop the link to that full hour-long conversation where you can learn more about the origin story of Share the Mic and Cyber. Today, again, October 22nd is the day, Share the Mic and Cyber Day. So please do us a favor. Follow the hashtag today on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on your social channels. Engage, retweet, share all day long. And that said, let me not delay any further. I wanted to introduce our featured guest for today, Isaiah Grigsby. He's an application security engineer for StockX, a grad of Clark Atlanta University, where he majored in computer science. So let me welcome my little brother, Isaiah, to the stage. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm great, man. I'm blessed. I'm repping the 305 this morning, the Miami Heats.
Hey, there you go, D Wade.
You know, I'm a lover of NBA basketball, and last night they announced, well, over the last couple of days, they announced the 75th anniversary. Players, 75 players for the 75th anniversary, and my guy D Wade, Dwayne Wade, was honored. And so I said, I'm repping the 305 this morning, especially for you, Sean Dove. So
well deserved.
Yes. Isaiah, we start all our conversations off from a place of gratitude. And so I wanted to kick things off this morning and ask you, what's an unexpected blessing that you're most grateful for in your life right now?
Unexpected blessing. I would say the one thing is failure right now. Being able to learn so much from those failures has actually empowered me to be where I am now.
That's a gem, man. That's some old soul wisdom right there, because them failures come hard, Isaiah.
Yeah, they do. They do.
But they are a blessing. Listen, I know your bio touched on the fact that you're a Maryland native.
Right.
Born and raised?
Born and raised, Fort Washington, Maryland.
Nice. And where are you located now?
Right now I'm in Houston, Texas. I
Texas.
actually just relocated from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
After living there for a few years.
Tell me a little bit about how you ended up in the Bay Area.
Yeah, so how I ended up in the Bay Area, I actually went to college at Clark Atlanta, graduated in 2018, studied computer science.
You know this guy up here?
I can't really see it.
Dr. Kimbrough?
Oh, yeah, Dr. Kimbrough. Yeah, of course. Who doesn't know Dr. Kimbrough?
I have a number of people on the platform, Keon Jackson, Dalen Spratt, so many Clark Atlanta.
Yeah, we're repping.
Yeah. So
gotta keep it alive.
You continue the tradition on Trailblazers.
I have to do it, man. So yeah, I actually ended up taking a role out there, working in tech. Spent 3 years working out there, and then relocated to Houston, Texas recently. So one cool story I was telling you behind the scenes was, I have a buddy who now is very close to me. I went to a conference out in the Bay Area in 2017. He dropped in the Slack during the conference, hey, if you're interested in cybersecurity, come find me. I went to go find the guy. We talked, didn't think much of it after the conference, kept in touch. And then after I graduated in 2018, I was moving out to the Bay Area, and he lived in the Bay Area. So he, a no-brainer, he ended up, letting me stay at his house, for a whole month, making that transition from one coast to the other. It's a huge change. So I thank him and his wife for that. And we've been close friends ever since.
That's awesome. So let me take you back a bit more than that, right? You grew up in Maryland, Fort Washington. What was it growing up that gave you an experience, or just gave you the exposure to tech?
So the one thing that gave me the exposure in tech was, first off, I played basketball, so I knew the ball would stop bouncing at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it was earlier or sooner in my career, I knew that would happen. And the next thing is mentor. So my dad has a great friend, best friend of his, who spent a lot of time in cyber, even when he was in college, and before then had internships with top companies. And he was a huge influence on why I chose cybersecurity. You know, when you think about cybersecurity years ago, studying in college was sort of like, cybersecurity, what you gonna do with that?
Right.
And I was one of those people who was very interested in it and took full advantage of it now and even then. So he was a huge influence on my life then, and still now in my decision of moving into cyber.
That's awesome, man. And so, how did you actually make the decision to hop? You leave Fort Washington, where you have two real HUs.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. You have, some amazing HBCUs, right in the DMV area. What was it about Clark that, pulled you south?
Yeah, so I actually went to a different school my freshman year, strictly just to go play basketball.
Wow.
And as you know, basketball is one of those things where if it works, it works. And going into my sophomore year, I'm like, hey, I need a change. I've been hearing about, Morehouse and all the other HBCUs down south. So I want to take full advantage and see what they were about. So being able to have friends and family who actually went to these institutions, they were able to help influence my decision on that. So, during first week of orientation at Morehouse College, I actually had a mentor of mine with me, and he was trying to figure out, how can we get you college paid for? How can we put you in the best position, years from now and right now to succeed? And while I'm over here trying to figure out my first week of college at Morehouse, he's over here trying to figure out how to get me into Clark to take advantage of those opportunities. And, thank the Lord, he actually, worked things out, and he talked to the chair, a few other faculty who were able to bring me in. And ever since then, they've been super supportive, and I've actually kept in touch with them over the past years.
I've heard that quite a bit about experience with a HBCU, how personal it is. What was your experience like attending Clark, and more broadly a HBCU?
It's very personal. I mean, coming from a background I came from, I went to private schools my whole life. Also, didn't see much color in those schools. High school, middle school, didn't have much color. So being exposed to these HBCUs, it was huge for me. Walking into a class and having African-American teachers who I can actually connect with, it was great. Like, teachers you can have, conversations about schoolwork, but also just go in there just to, just kick it and just talk about life and how's your family and those type of things. Those are cherishable moments.
And set your course, redirect if they need to.
Yeah, that's true. Redirect it. Make sure all my credits are there.
That's awesome. So you studied, what did you study at Clark?
Computer science.
So was there any exposure to cyber during the HBCU?
Yeah. So we had actually a consortium of schools that we were a part of. It's called CCOR, where it was literally a grant from the government. And we'd have different workshops with all these different institutions. And we also had a few other, what I would call classes or, symposiums that we would be able to attend. So that was great. I think now Clark has a built out cybersecurity program. But when I was there, we had an introduction to InfoSec. We had a few other like cryptography classes. But other than that, it was sort of unofficial.
So bring me forward. You're at StockX today, but what was the walk me through a little bit of your story from the time that you left Clark to kind of where you find yourself today.
So after graduating from Clark in 2018, I moved out to the Bay Area and worked in the defense industry as a software engineer first, but then moved into a security engineering role. Spent, 3 years there. And then I was looking and seeking other opportunities. When I saw the StockX opportunity, it was like a no-brainer. I mean, when you see, companies or brands that oftentimes people of your age or generation use on a daily basis, and it actually impacts, African, like my generation in the culture, is no brainer, especially when it comes to security. So I'm an application security engineer, been there for a few months now, and StockX is great, in terms of just being like the online marketplace known as for sneakers, but we branched out into other verticals. It's been amazing just to see the product grow, but also being behind the scenes versus just being a buyer on the platform.
Let me ask you a question, because you just touched on, moving from sort of the government sector to the private side. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so I will say that it's a lot different in terms of pace, but also just preparation to get into, the private sector, because you're preparing for interviews. Things are, if you know anything about technical interviews for tech companies, it can easily keep you up at night and also keep you from sleeping. It's one of those things where you actually have to prepare, you actually have to study, it's like a routine, you have to get into it.
Why is that? Explain that to somebody who has not done that before.
Just tech stack, and also just the pace of the environment. A lot of, I would say, in the more tech and more tech companies, they have a lot of fast moving, products that move very fast. And I'm starting to see that now, is where, I'm in the defense industry, things are taking, a year to develop. And here I am working on a product that we're trying to push out in a month and a half. And you're wondering where are we getting these resources? How are we able to do this? And, that was just one of the things that I found sort of as a delta between the two. But, with preparation and also just having mentors and friends in the space, they're able to help guide and provide resources. I will say failure, like I talked about in the beginning, failure definitely plays a part in all this. You're going to take some L's in, technical interviews. It's reality. You can't get it all perfect.
But the beauty in that is that there are lessons, right?
Yeah, there's lessons. There's lessons. And I saw that. I had to stay persistent with, studying for interviews, but also understanding sort of the bias in, recruiting and hiring as well, which I think some companies are getting better at, but that's something that you experience also.
What type of bias?
Unconscious bias.
What kind? Like, is it age? Is it race? Is it?
I would say it's race, and depending on the company, it could be age also, but more so along the lines of me feeling like I have a preconception of, oh, you're coming from the defense industry. You probably can't work here because we're moving at 100 miles per hour and you guys move at, 15 miles per hour. Can you keep up? So you have these mind games that, some companies may play, where they try to throw trick questions or over evaluate you to make sure that you're a good fit. So down the line, they're like, hey, I made a good hiring decision, or maybe I didn't. So
what's the experience like? Because you're a young man, a Black man in the world of cybersecurity. We need many more of you, Isaiah. But what's your experience been as a young Black man in the world of cyber, more broadly speaking? Has it been positive? Are you excited to do like your dad's best friend did and mentor other young Black men into this industry?
Yeah, so I am very, very huge on mentorship. I think oftentimes when someone reaches out to me, or I see a tweet on Twitter about how to break into cybersecurity, most people think there's just one way to get in. And that's not true at all. It's not true at all. I know when I was trying to find a job out of college, or even just switch roles, I'm trying to find the best resources to get where I want to be. I oftentimes have a lot of mentees that I mentor on how to get into cyber. A few of them are in cyber boot camps. A few of them are, making the transition from, business to trying to get into cybersecurity. There's different areas of cyber that you can get in, and it's very unique on how you can get in also. So
What would you tell some of them Clark Atlanta students right now that looking at cyber?
I would say, the opportunity is there. There's a lot of skills I'm sure that you're probably not aware of that can be applied to cyber. And also, if you like money, cyber pays.
Cyber pays. I love it. I love that you brought up the failures, right? And the lessons that you learn from them. Is there a failure that or pitfall? You're still pretty young, and I'm sure you're going to go through some darker valleys up ahead. We all do, right? Those are battle scars that I as I share with you and I share with our Blaze Nation community, to embrace those, right? They're going to come, and that wisdom that you gain, it will cause you to have to redirect and change path. But, having clarity on where you're trying to go is the important piece of that, right? So as you build your brand, and you continue to move forward, just make sure you have clarity on, what's out ahead 3 to 5 from now. Right. Are you at a place yet where you've given that thought, like where you kind of see the next 3 to 5 years where you want to actually be?
I've given a lot of thought to it. I think it's been changing often, which is good in a sense. I've had my hands sort of dabbled in a lot of different things as it relates to my role, but also just what I'm interested in as it relates to security. It's been changing over the past 6 months. So in terms of, having my own company where I'm doing consulting in security, that's something that I unofficially do, but it's something that I want to turn more official. So that's something that I hope to turn into something that I actually own over the next few months.
Is there a focus area or a specialty within the broader scope of cyber that you're focused on? Are you like, tilted to the offensive or defensive end of the wheel?
So I focus a lot on helping make sure that our code is secure. So anywhere from doing code reviews with developers to providing training for developers to make sure that they're developing code securely. Also threat modeling. So making sure that before we even think about developing code, is this secure? Is it secure? It saves time and it saves everyone the headache. And then the last thing that I sort of love to focus on is vulnerability management. So how are we taking care of the vulnerabilities in our systems? Third-party dependencies, vulnerabilities that we've created. How are we taking care of that? So those are things that I'm super passionate about, and I'm hoping to grow into other areas of cyber. It's hard. One thing I said to my ally was, I dislike not knowing things. I don't have to know everything about it, but just the idea of having some awareness of what something is enough for me. It's enough.
Where do you get that kind of information on the day-to-day as a practitioner today? How are you staying abreast of where things are moving?
Twitter's huge. Also, Cyber Daily News, Hacker News is huge as well. And then I'm in a lot of different Slack channels focused on, just security practitioners. We conversate and talk about, latest vulnerabilities that have been released and just bounce ideas off one another.
I'm getting close to wrapping up. A couple more things. Cindy, I see a comment over on LinkedIn from Cindy. She's asking how long it took to get into cyber and what was your journey? I think Isaiah touched on some of his journey. Any advice on others maybe getting into cyber?
I would say talk to as many people that are in cyber that you can to understand what their journey was. Also finding a mentor in the cyberspace is big. And then also one thing is cyber boot camps are quick and easy to, I wouldn't say easy, but they give you the credentials to actually feel like you belong in cyber and it's the right fit. The one thing that I tell people is you don't want to go into a field just because, of the money or just because it looks cool. You actually want to enjoy your job. So talk to as many people, find a mentor, and then also just finding an area in cyber. There's a lot of different areas, from being very technical to being non-technical.
And I brought that up, I think on Wednesday I'd mentioned that as well. By day, a lot of people in Blazer Nation, some do, some don't. But I'm a leader in the world of cybersecurity. Yeah. I'm a marketing professional and work by day for the Science Institute. And I don't have a technical background, right? Yeah. I can stay on the surface and I get, what I need to get to do my job as a marketer and articulate what it is that you're doing, right? And how maybe some of our courseware would be applicable to your own journey,
right?
And helping you advance. But I'm not technical, but I consider myself a cybersecurity professional in the working in the world of cyber.
Right.
And so if you are a person of color, if you're a HBCU student or alum and you're looking at where do I plant myself, I would tell you that cybersecurity has opportunity for those who are technically minded, but there are a great many jobs and opportunities for you in the world of cybersecurity that are also non-technical. And so give thought to that as well. Isaiah, are you a reader of books? Are you somebody that consumes audio a good bit? Like, what's your jam on that side?
Yeah, so I love to read books, whether they're technical or just novels.
Yeah.
2 books that have been good to me and books that I've read multiple times is Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting in the Cafeteria Together? It's a great book by Beverly Tatum. Have you read it?
I have not.
It's a great book. I actually got that through a early career program that I was in the Bay Area. And that book is great. The author, she actually went to Spelman College. She was actually, I'm not sure she went to Spelman College, but she was the president of Spelman College for sure.
What? Wow. Beverly.
It touches a lot on racism. So
what's her name?
Beverly Tatum.
Beverly Tatum.
Yeah.
I will have to check that out.
Yeah. And then also the next book I would say is So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport.
Yes.
I love that book. It actually helped me a lot when I was making the transition from working in the government space into, more of, the tech company space. And I love it. Love it.
You have Camilla Brown over here saying she's proud of you and the hashtag CECOR.
Yeah, shout out to Camilla. She helped a lot in my process of, working in the C Corps program. And I believe she was a program manager for the C Corps. So shout out to her.
Good stuff. Listen, what are you happiest doing when you're not working?
When I'm not working, cool. Well, recently it's been a lot of things around the house since I just moved. I love to fish. I love to play basketball. And the next thing that I love to do now has just been playing with my dog also. Those are things that I love.
Yeah.
Basketball's huge though. I mean, I'm a
huge
Kevin Durant fan. Like since basketball started, Kevin Durant, I love it. I love it. I love it.
We have a little East Coast rivalry.
There we go. Right. I love it, man.
All right. I love it. All right, man. Listen, last question for you, and we can wrap up. One, how can we stay connected to you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter,
Yeah.
Isaiah Grigsby. And then on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, Isaiah Grigsby. And then also, where else am I at? Oh, Instagram. If you want to find me on Instagram, that's fine too. Isaiah Grigsby. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Okay.
You can DM me or mention me.
As a brand guy, I love that.
Right? not hard to find.
I love that you keep it consistent as well. That's a personal branding nugget right there. Just keep it consistent.
Yeah.
Across social. We affectionately call our community our Blazer Nation. What's an action that they can take this week as they come away from this conversation, they step into the weekend? What's an action they can take that's going to help them to blaze their trail?
When opportunity presents itself, take advantage of it.
Yeah.
there's often been times where, this goes back to the failure thing. When you're feeling like things are going wrong, but then you have this opportunity present itself. Take full advantage of it. Even if it's something that you're probably not familiar with, take the time to actually learn about it. Take the time to actually sit down and figure out how you can better yourself.
Yes.
That's a gem that I have for today.
I love that. Isaiah, you're a young man with some old man wisdom. Appreciate
Thank you. I actually get that a lot.
Yeah. I love it. I am so happy that you graced us with your presence this Friday morning. I know it's a little early in Houston, but thank you so much for being here. Once again, I'm just going to encourage everyone to make sure you are taking part today in the Share the Mic in Cyber campaign. Hop on Twitter today, look up the hashtag Share the Mic in Cyber. Make sure you're engaging in some of these conversations, retweet, share on LinkedIn, on Twitter, all day long. We want to show love. We want to be able to help, bring awareness to some of the amazing Black practitioners in the world of cybersecurity, like Isaiah. So show some love there. And listen, one of the things I said it a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna say it again, so you guys hold me accountable, because I need some accountability right now. This is a big step. Many of you know I have not been on the podcast since December 20th of last year is the last time that I published an episode to the podcast, and so we are going live in my head. I'm thinking it'd be great for it to be a Thanksgiving relaunch of the podcast. I don't know how excited some of you are to hear that. I'm being sarcastic because I've been getting an earful from many of you about that. But listen, November, hold me accountable. We're going to get some of these amazing conversations that we've had back on the podcast, right? So, Blaze Nation, I appreciate your time this morning. Go out today. Have an awesome Friday. TGIF, Trailblazers Grind includes Friday. Make sure that you are, stepping into this weekend with a mindset to embrace failure, as my man Isaiah just said. And I'll see you back here bright and early Monday morning for your Monday morning mission fuel. Have a great weekend. God bless.